Hello, it's the weekend again. Right, one simple chart from the United States of America. US gasoline consumption change from prior year. Upsy downsy, downsy upsy, going back to the year 2000. There have been two big sticky downies. The 2008 was a big sticky downy, which we remember and we know why. And 2011, last year, was a big sticky downy. Now, the point I'd like to make here is that the world leaders, what do we call them, will not know if that is a good thing or a bad thing. Now, obviously, I think we can expect that they would think it was a bad thing. Just to show that I think that we think, to a certain extent, we are going to have to get round to thinking one day, and one day quite soon, that that is a good thing, those blue sticky down things. But for them at the moment, I suspect that they think that sticky down thing is a bad thing, not a good thing. And that one day is going to have to change. Right. This is from Reggie Middleton. Now, Reggie has been knocking it out of the park lately, as in over the last 2 or 3 years. He really hasn't got much wrong at all. Now, this is from the middle, although it looks like a headline, but Reggie writes like that, of a longer posting. I believe Germany poses the biggest threat to global harmony for 2012, and here's why. And you can read the rest of that. Now, I'm not going to talk about what Reggie talks there, because in a way it's too complicated. It's too complicated for me to understand, put it that way. You can have a go at it, but the more important thing about Germany and Europe and the threat it is to the rest of the world is A, because it is Europe, and we'll go on to that in the next link, but B, Germany, because what has happened is that Germany has been doing its industrial best and winning money games and getting lots of money profits, which accrued to companies and private individuals as profits and savings. Those profits and savings, quite a lot of them have gone to things called pigs, who have spent them all, quite a lot, on German products. So the circle kept churning round, like China and United States, Germany and the pigs in Europe. Right. Well, that's fine, and it works for a certain amount of time. But now we have the problem of, well, what happens when we realise that this little game has got to stop? It's Germany that runs into trouble. 3 reasons, but I mean the reasons run on and on. When they stop lending money to the pigs and others will stop buying their products. They stop buying their products, the industrial production of Germany goes down. It's just the way it must be. Same with China and America. But the money problem is there as well. This money has been lent to the pigs and other European countries to buy the products, and they want more because they're used to having it, and they want more and need more to pay back the borrowings from Germany that they got in the first place. And this whole thing either puts pressure on the rest of Europe, the pigs and the rest of Europe, or it puts pressure on Germany. What it really comes down to, in my mind, is it puts more pressure on Germany than it does on the actual pigs. It really comes down to, how does that expression go? If you owe the bank $100, it's your problem. If you owe the bank 100 million, it's the bank's problem. To a greater extent, this European problem is a German problem. And I can't see any way of them sorting it out besides saying, look, stop. That's the end of it. We realise we've made a dreadful error. That's the end of it. And we'll tidy up our pieces because it's going to ruin our banks and our economy. We'll take care of ourselves, and you lot take care of yourselves. It's really a very big decision to make, and it's the same decision that's being made between America and China. And it's very hard system to get off. It's a treadmill. It's almost a drug, and they can't get off it. And it's Germany's problem. Right. This, number 3, is a list of now the remaining AAA countries in the world. Now, I've put this up to show that the world, we often think of the world as too big to contemplate. The world is not too big to contemplate. It is imaginable. You just have to go at it, zoom out and see it as a big thing, zoom in, see it piece by piece, and then zoom in a little more until you realise you're getting bogged down, and then come up again. It is imaginable, the world. Right, let's go through the AAA countries of the world. Australia, Canada, Denmark. I don't know what Denmark is doing there at all. But still, Finland, Germany, Hong Kong, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Singapore, Sweden, Swiss Confederation, and the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom must surely be coming under scrutiny, to say the least. But of the others, do you see how many are European? And they're there because of their past. And it's just about all old world stuff. Hong Kong and Singapore were set up by empires. Canada, Australia, Liechtenstein's too small to talk about, but it's in Europe there. It's Swiss it's all old Europe or old European empire stuff. All right, Canada and Australia, there's no way you can put those in the old empire heading. They are countries of their own right and powers in their own right, and probably those top two would be the last to be, or maybe Norway because of its oil as well, would be the last to be losing their AAA. But you can see how dodgy the world is. There's just almost nobody that isn't coming to the end of its reputation. It's old. This is what they're firing on at the moment. Their old reputation that they've always paid back their debts in the past, etc., etc. They're relying on reputation, and all these reputations are getting extremely frayed unless you happen to have oil buried in the back garden or other sorts of minerals that some productive country wants to take off you. It's getting very shaky out there. Right. Joseph Stiglitz writing in Project Syndicate. Should I read this? I'll read it. Although he's as good at writing as he is at speaking. The year 2011 will be remembered as the time when many over-optimistic Americans began to give up hope. President John F. Kennedy once said that a rising tide lifts all boats. But now, in the receding tide, Americans are beginning to see that not only those with the tallest masts had been lifted far higher, but also that many of the smaller boats had been dashed to pieces in their wake. We know what he means, but what shocking analogies. In that brief moment when the rising tide was indeed rising, millions of people believed that they might have a fair chance of realizing the American dream. Now those dreams too are receding. By 2011, the savings of those who had lost their jobs in 2008 or 9 had been spent. Unemployment checks had run out. Headlines announcing new hiring, still not enough to keep pace with the number of those who would normally have entered the labour force, meant little to the 50-year-olds with little hope of ever holding a job again. I didn't want to do this, but let's go. Reagan-Thatcher revolution, the Anglo-Saxon way, I imagine they thought could kick the can down the road for 5, 10, maybe 15 years. Remarkably, it's done it for nearly 30 years. The Thatcher-Reagan revolution was basically get everybody to lever up, to borrow as much money as possible, and that money in the economy will make the economy more marvellous than ever, and with a more marvellous than ever economy, people will have the ability to pay those debts back and everything will be super. Except obviously that sort of thing does have a limit, and it looks like the world is on that limit. And the other nations of the world that didn't go with that, Europe, tried their own more socialist system, where leaving 10% unemployed and making sure the 90% that were employed were quite well paid, and therefore the economy was quite ebullient, bullish, going quite well, worked for a certain amount of time as well. But that is coming to the end of its natural life. Let's finish with this Danny Roddick. This, I think, yeah, it's Danny Roddick. Again, Project Syndicate. Cambridge. The world economy is entering a new phase in which achieving global cooperation will become increasingly difficult. The United States and the European Union, now burdened by high debt and low growth, and therefore preoccupied with domestic concerns, are no longer able to set global rules and expect others to fall in line like they have forever. Compounding this trend, rising powers such as China and India place great value on national sovereignty and non-interference in domestic affairs. This makes them unwilling to submit to international rules or to demand that others comply with such rules, and thus unlikely to invest in multilateral institutions as the US did in the aftermath of World War II. As a result, global leadership and cooperation will remain in limited supply, requiring a carefully calibrated response in the world economy's governance, specifically a thinner set of rules that recognizes the diversity of national circumstances and demands for policy autonomy. But discussions in the G20, World Trade Organization and other multilateral forums proceed as if the right remedy were more of the same, more rules, more harmonization, and more discipline on national policies. My take from this, read Stiglitz and Danny Roddick. They're not long articles, and they're well worth reading. It's often not a bad thing if you have leaders that are strong and powerful and lead well. And that's kind of what the Western world has been to the world for the last, how long, 1,000 years, I don't know how, whatever, has always been. The Western world has been the leader of the world. But they are losing that, and we're in an interregnum between rules. It might be going over to the east, or it might not be. It might just be collapsing into chaos. But we have no clear leadership from the West anymore, because they're just simply not in a position to lead anymore. And you might not like it, I might not like it, but in a world, from small micro things right up to the big macro things, leadership is important. It's the way things are structured, and generally the way people like them, and the way things run best. And obviously the better the leadership, the better. And at the moment the world is well short of leadership, if for no other reason that we go back to that initial chart right at the beginning, that they will not know whether reduced gasoline production in the United States is a good idea or a bad idea. And there are one or two more little instances of that, like that. But just that one. Are we going to continue with this great idea of growth, 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 or are we not? People really need to know. The world needs to know. The world systems need to know. Everyone needs to know. Because if we're going to do it, I think we could probably do it for a while longer. But if we're not going to do it, we seriously need to put things in place now to adapt to a new way of doing things. But as I repeat, and I think Danny Roddick was saying, there's no leadership on this at all, and it's muddle through, and the world does not work well in muddle through mode. Bye.